The morning sun cast golden rays through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Romano Couture's headquarters. But Gabriel Romano felt nothing but darkness consuming his thoughts. Standing in his luxurious office on the 40th floor, he stared at the bustling streets of Manhattan below, his jaw clenched with frustration that threatened to explode. Gabriel Romano was not a man accustomed to failure. At 35, he had built the most prestigious fashion empire in New York, transforming his father's small textile business into a billion-dollar luxury brand. His sharp Italian features, perfectly styled black hair, and piercing green eyes commanded respect wherever he went. Women desired him, men envied him, but none could touch the ice-cold heart that beat beneath his expensive suits. "This cannot be happening," Gabriel muttered, crushing the phone in his grip after ending another disastrous call. His assistant had just delivered the worst possible news. Their star model, famous Valentina Cross, had disappeared 24 hours before the most important photo shoot of the year. Alina Vasquez, his marketing director, burst through the mahogany doors without knocking, her face pale with worry. She was a woman in her 40s who had worked tirelessly to build Romano Couture's reputation. And today, she looked like she had aged 10 years overnight. "Gabriel, we have a serious problem," Alina announced, her voice trembling despite her attempts to maintain composure. "Valentina's agent just confirmed she flew to Paris with that French actor. She's not coming back." Gabriel's fist crashed against his marble desk, sending expensive crystal paperweights scattering across the floor. The sound echoed through the office like thunder, making Alina flinch instinctively. "Do you understand what this means, Alina?" Gabriel's voice was dangerously low, each word dripping with controlled rage. "Tomorrow's shoot is for Luna de Plata, our most expensive wedding dress. $300,000 of pure perfection, and we have no model." Luna de Plata was Gabriel's masterpiece, a wedding dress that had taken 18 months to create. Designed with the finest Belgian lace, adorned with genuine Swarovski crystals, and crafted by the most skilled artisans in Europe. It represented everything Romano Couture stood for: luxury, elegance, and unattainable beauty. "We could postpone the campaign," Alina suggested weakly, knowing the suggestion would only fuel Gabriel's anger further. "Postpone?" Gabriel's laugh was bitter and cold. "The magazine spread is scheduled for next week. The international buyers are expecting to see this collection. Our competitors are already spreading rumors about Romano Couture losing its edge." Gabriel began pacing his office like a caged predator, his mind racing through possibilities. Every top model in the city was already booked, and those who were available demanded fees that would destroy their budget. Time was running out, and Gabriel Romano never accepted defeat. The unexpected solution, as Gabriel's fury reached its peak. His gaze drifted toward the security monitors displaying different floors of his building. His eyes stopped on the reception area, where a young woman sat behind the elegant marble desk, greeting visitors with a warm smile that seemed to light up the entire lobby. Camila Santos had worked as Romano Couture's receptionist for almost 2 years, yet Gabriel had barely noticed her existence until this moment. She was 26 years old, with long dark hair that she always kept professionally styled, warm brown eyes that sparkled with kindness, and a natural beauty that needed no enhancement. Camila came from a humble background in Queens, where she lived with her sick mother in a small apartment. She had studied business administration at a community college, while working part-time jobs to support her family. When she finally landed the receptionist position at Romano Couture, it felt like winning the lottery. "Alina," Gabriel called. Out, his voice suddenly calm and calculated. "Who is that woman at the reception desk?" Alina followed Gabriel's gaze to the monitor, confusion evident in her expression. "That's Camila Santos, our receptionist. She's been working here for 2 years now. Gabriel, what are you thinking?" Gabriel's mind was already forming a plan, one that bordered on madness, but might just solve their crisis. He studied Camila's image on the screen, noting her graceful posture, her elegant way of moving, and something indefinable that caught his attention. "She's perfect," Gabriel whispered, more to himself than to Alina. "Perfect for what?" Alina asked, though she was beginning to understand the direction of Gabriel's thoughts. "She's going to be our model for Luna de Plata." Alina's eyes widened in shock. "Gabriel, you cannot be serious. Camila is just a receptionist. She has no modeling experience, no training, no background in fashion." This is our most important campaign. Look at her, Alina. Gabriel pointed to the screen. She has something that all those expensive models lack: authenticity. She's real, natural, unposed. That's exactly what Luna de Plata needs. Alina shook her head vigorously. This is insane. What if she refuses? What if she's terrible in front of the camera? What if she ruins everything? Gabriel's expression hardened, the familiar coldness returning to his features. She won't refuse. She works for me, and she'll do what I tell her to do. As for the rest, we'll make it work. Without waiting for Elena's response, Gabriel picked up his phone and dialed the reception desk. His heart pounded with an anticipation he couldn't explain as he waited for Camila to answer. The summons down in the lobby, Camila was reviewing the visitor schedule for the afternoon when her phone rang. The caller ID showed Gabriel Romano's direct line, causing her heart to skip a beat. In 2 years of working there, the CEO had never called her directly. "Good morning, Mr. Romano," Camila answered professionally, though her voice betrayed a slight nervousness.
Ask Santos, I need you in my office immediately.
Gabriel's voice was commanding, leaving no room for questions or delays. "Of course, sir. I'll be right up," Camila replied, already standing and smoothing her navy blue skirt suit. As Camila rode the elevator to the 40th floor, her mind raced with possibilities. Had she made a mistake? Was she about to be fired? The thought terrified her because she desperately needed this job. Her mother's medical bills were mounting, and her savings were nearly depleted. Camila had been engaged to Diego Martinez for 8 months now, and they were planning a modest wedding for the following year. Diego worked as a car salesman and often complained about Camila's job, claiming that working in the fashion industry was corrupting her values. He wanted her to quit and find something more appropriate for a future wife. When the elevator doors opened, Camila walked through the executive floor with careful steps. She had only been up here once before, during her job interview, and the luxury still overwhelmed her. Everything screamed wealth and power, from the Italian marble floors to the priceless artwork adorning the walls. Alina met her at Gabriel's office door, her expression unreadable. "Camila, Mr. Romano wants to speak with you about a special project." "What kind of project?" Camila asked, but Alina simply gestured toward the office. Gabriel was standing by his window when Camila entered, his imposing figure silhouetted against the Manhattan skyline. He turned slowly, and for the first time, Camila found herself under the full intensity of his gaze. "Miss Santos," Gabriel began, walking toward her with measured steps.
How long have you been working for Romano Couture?
"Almost 2 years." "Sir," Camila replied, clasping her hands together to stop them from trembling. "And in those 2 years, have you ever worn any of our designs?" The question caught Camila off guard. "No, sir. I mean, they're beautiful, but they're not exactly in my price range." Gabriel smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "That's about to change. I have a proposition for you, Miss Santos. Our company is facing a crisis, and I believe you can help us solve it." Camila's confusion deepened. "I don't understand, sir. I'm just a receptionist." "Not anymore." Gabriel's voice was firm and decisive. "I want you to model our most exclusive wedding dress for tomorrow's photo shoot." The words hit Camila like a physical blow. She stared at Gabriel in complete disbelief, certain she had misheard. "Him? I'm sorry. What did you say? You heard me correctly?" "Our model abandoned us, and I've chosen you as her replacement." Camila's mind reeled. "Mr. Romano, I think there's been a mistake. I'm not a model. I don't know how to pose or walk on runways. I've never even worn a dress that cost more than $100. Gabriel stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "None of that matters. What matters is that you have something special, something authentic that can't be taught or bought." "But sir, I'm engaged. My fiancé wouldn't approve of me modeling, especially in a wedding dress." Gabriel's jaw tightened at the mention of her fiancé. "This is not a request, Miss Santos. This is part of your job now. Romano Couture is facing its biggest challenge, and every employee must contribute to our success." Camila felt trapped. She could see the determination in Gabriel's eyes, the kind of ruthless focus that had built his empire. She also understood the unspoken threat: refuse and lose her job. "If I do this," Camila said quietly, "will it just be for one photo shoot?" "One shoot," Gabriel confirmed, though something in his tone suggested otherwise. "The dress is worth $300,000, Miss Santos. You'll be wearing a piece of art. Elena stepped forward, trying to ease the tension. Camila, you don't have to decide right now. Maybe you should think about it. She's already decided. Gabriel interrupted, his gaze never leaving Camila's face. Haven't you, Miss Santos? Camila looked between Gabriel and Elena, feeling the weight of expectation crushing down on her. She thought about her mother's medical bills, about the apartment rent due next week, about the security this job provided. Yes, she whispered, the word barely audible. Yes, I'll do it. Gabriel's smile was triumphant, but there was something else in his expression that Camila couldn't identify. Something that made her heart race with an emotion she didn't want to name. Excellent, Elena. We'll take you to the design studio now. Tomorrow morning, you'll transform into something extraordinary. As Camila followed Elena out of the office, she didn't see Gabriel watching her every step, his hands clenched into fists as he fought against feelings he didn't understand. What had started as a desperate business decision was already becoming something far more dangerous. The game had begun, and none of them were prepared for the consequences that would follow. The next morning arrived with an energy that seemed to pulse through every corner of Romano Couture's headquarters. The photo studio on the 25th floor had been transformed into a wonderland of professional lighting, cameras, and backdrop screens that created an atmosphere of pure magic. Camila arrived at 7 in the morning, her stomach twisted with nerves that made eating breakfast impossible. She had barely slept the previous night, tossing and turning as she imagined all the ways she could embarrass herself in front of the cameras. Diego had been furious when she told him about the modeling assignment, his face turning red with anger, as he accused her of seeking attention from other men. This is ridiculous, Camila, Diego had shouted in their small apartment. You're going to make a fool of yourself, and everyone will laugh at you. A rich boss of yours is just using you for his entertainment. But Camila had made her decision, and despite her fears, she was determined to prove that she could handle this challenge. She stepped into the studio. She was greeted by a team of professionals who would help create the magic Gabriel had envisioned. Marina Rodriguez, the head stylist, was a woman in her 50s with silver hair and an eye for perfection that rivaled Gabriel's own standards. She approached Camila with a warm smile that immediately put her at ease. So you're our mysterious model, Marina said, circling Camila with an appraising gaze. Gabriel was right about you having natural beauty, but we're going to enhance it until you shine like a diamond. The transformation process began with Marina's team working on Camila's hair and makeup. For 3 hours, they carefully crafted a look that was both ethereal and elegant. Her dark hair was styled in soft waves that cascaded over her shoulders, while her makeup was applied with subtle perfection that enhanced her natural features without overpowering them. Meanwhile, Gabriel paced his office like a restless lion, unable to concentrate on any work. Every few minutes he found himself checking his watch, wondering how the preparation was progressing. He had never felt this level of anticipation about a photo shoot before, and the intensity of his emotions unsettled him. Elena knocked on his door, carrying the morning's business reports. Gabriel, the marketing team, needs your approval on the spring campaign budget. Later, Gabriel dismissed her without looking up from his window. How much longer until the shoot begins? Another hour, Elena replied, studying his profile with concern. Gabriel, are you sure about this? It's not too late to find a professional model. Gabriel's jaw tightened. I'm sure. Camila is exactly what we need. What Gabriel didn't say was that he couldn't stop thinking about Camila since their meeting yesterday. Something about her had awakened feelings he thought he had buried forever. The way she had looked at him with those honest brown eyes, the vulnerability in her voice when she agreed to help him, the graceful way she moved even when she was nervous, the unveiling when the moment finally arrived for Camila to put on Luna de Plata. The entire studio fell silent. The wedding dress hung on a special mannequin, surrounded by soft lighting that made the crystals sparkle like captured starlight. It was a masterpiece of design, with a fitted bodice that flowed into a full skirt adorned with intricate beadwork. In a train that seemed to float like morning mist, Marina helped Camila into the dress with the care of someone handling a priceless artifact. As the silk fabric settled against her skin and the crystals caught the light, Camila felt a transformation that went beyond the physical. The dress seemed to have been created specifically for her, fitting her curves perfectly and making her feel like royalty. My God, whispered Fernando Lopez, the head photographer, as Camila emerged from behind the changing screen. She's absolutely stunning. Fernando was a man in his 40s who had photographed the world's most beautiful women. But something about Camila took his breath away. It wasn't just her beauty, but the way she carried herself. The natural elegance that couldn't be taught or faked. Gabriel chose that moment to enter the studio. And when his eyes fell on Camila, the world seemed to stop moving. She stood there, in Luna de Plata, looking like a vision from a dream he never knew he had. The dress transformed her from a simple receptionist into a goddess of beauty and grace. For several heartbeats, Gabriel couldn't move or speak. His heart hammered against his chest as he took in every detail of her appearance. The way the dress hugged her figure, how the soft lighting made her skin glow. The shy smile that played at the corners of her lips when she noticed his stunned expression. "She's perfect," Gabriel finally managed to say, his voice rougher than usual. Camila blushed under his intense gaze, feeling beautiful and powerful in a way she had never experienced before. The dress gave her confidence, and she could see the admiration in everyone's eyes as they looked at her. "Shall we begin?" Fernando asked, positioning his camera equipment. The photo shoot started slowly, with Fernando giving Camila gentle directions on how to pose and where to look. At first, she was stiff and self-conscious, but gradually she began to relax and find her natural rhythm. Gabriel watched from the sidelines, mesmerized by every movement she made. "Beautiful," Camila, Fernando encouraged. "Now turn slightly to your left and look over your shoulder." "Perfect." As the shoot progressed, Camila became more comfortable in front of the camera. She began to move with a fluid grace that surprised everyone, including herself. The dress seemed to give her wings, and she danced through the poses with increasing confidence. The seeds of jealousy Gabriel's fascination with Camila's transformation quickly turned into something darker and more possessive. When Fernando moved closer to adjust her pose, Gabriel felt a surge of irritation that caught him completely off guard. "That's enough direction," Gabriel interrupted sharply. "She knows what she's doing." Fernando looked puzzled by the interruption, but continued shooting. However, Gabriel's mood darkened further when other members of the crew began commenting on Camila's beauty. "She's a natural," one of the lighting assistants whispered to his colleague. "I've never seen anyone so beautiful in a wedding dress." Gabriel's hands clenched into fists at his sides. The rational part of his mind knew that their comments were harmless and professional. But something primitive and territorial inside him couldn't tolerate other men looking at Camila with admiration. During a break in the shooting, Marina approached Camila with a bottle of water in genuine praise. "You're doing wonderfully, dear. I've worked with professional models who couldn't match your natural elegance." Camila smiled gratefully, still amazed by the experience. I never imagined I could feel so comfortable in front of a camera. You have a gift," Marina continued. "Have you ever considered modeling professionally?" Before Camila could answer, Gabriel appeared beside them, his presence suddenly dominating the space. "Miss Santos has other responsibilities," he said coldly, his tone making it clear that the subject was closed. Marina raised an eyebrow at Gabriel's possessive behavior but said nothing. She had worked in the fashion industry long enough to recognize the signs of a man becoming dangerously obsessed. As the shoot continued, Gabriel's behavior became increasingly erratic. When Fernando asked Camila to pose with a male model for comparison shots, Gabriel's objection was immediate and fierce. "Absolutely not," Gabriel declared, stepping between Camila and the male model. "This shoot is about the dress, not about creating romantic scenes." "But Sir," Fernando protested. "The client specifically requested shots showing how the dress looks in couple scenarios. The client will get what I decide to give them." Gabriel's voice was ice-cold with authority. "Continue with individual shots only." Camila watched this exchange with growing confusion. Gabriel's behavior seemed excessive and unexplained, but she was too intimidated to question him directly. She could feel the tension radiating from him whenever any man got too close to her, and it made her uncomfortable in ways she couldn't fully understand. The unexpected visitor, just as the photo shoot was reaching its conclusion. An unwelcome interruption shattered the studio's focused atmosphere. Diego Martinez appeared at the studio entrance, his face flushed with anger, and his eyes scanning the room until they found Camila. "Where is she?" Diego demanded loudly, pushing past a security guard, who tried to stop him. "Where is my fiancée?" Camila's heart sank when she saw Diego's furious expression. She had hoped to finish the shoot without any complications, but clearly, her fiancé had other plans. "Diego, what are you doing here?" Camila asked, gathering the dress train carefully as she moved toward him. "I came to put an end to this ridiculous charade," Diego announced, his voice carrying across the studio and drawing everyone's attention. "You look absolutely ridiculous in that dress, Camila. Everyone is probably laughing at you behind your back." The cruel words hit Camila like physical blows. Just moments before, she had been feeling beautiful and confident. But Diego's harsh judgment made all that confidence crumble instantly. Gabriel's reaction to Diego's appearance was immediate and volcanic. His green eyes blazed with a fury that made everyone in the studio step back instinctively. No one had ever seen the usually controlled businessman lose his composure so completely. "How dare you speak to her that way?" Gabriel's voice was dangerously low as he advanced toward Diego. "And how dare you enter my building without permission?" Diego turned his attention to Gabriel, his own anger flaring higher. "So you're the boss who's been filling my fiancé's head with nonsense about being a model? She's just a receptionist. And she should remember her place." "Her place," Gabriel repeated, his voice dripping with contempt. "Her place is wherever her talent and beauty can take her, not limited by the small mind of an insecure man." The two men faced each other like predators about to fight, and the entire studio held its breath. Camila stood between them in her beautiful dress, feeling like the eye of a storm that was about to destroy everything in its path. "Camila, we're leaving right now," Diego commanded, grabbing her arm roughly. "Take off that ridiculous costume, and let's go home." Gabriel's control finally snapped completely. "Take your hands off her," he roared, moving faster than anyone thought possible and grabbing Diego's wrist with crushing force. For a moment, violence seemed inevitable as the two men glared at each other with pure hatred, but it was Camila's voice that cut through the tension like a knife. "Stop it, both of you," she said firmly, surprising everyone with the strength in her voice. "I'm not a possession to be fought over." She looked directly at Diego, her eyes flashing with hurt and anger. "And I'm not ridiculous or laughable. For the first time in years, I felt beautiful and confident, and you want to destroy that." Then she turned to Gabriel, her expression softening, but remaining resolute. "And you, Mr. Romano, have no right to make decisions about my life or my relationships." With that declaration, Camila walked away from both men, her head held high, in the wedding dress flowing behind her like a banner of independence. She had discovered something about herself today, something powerful and beautiful that no one could take away from her. The photo shoot ended in tense silence. But everyone knew that something fundamental had changed. Gabriel watched Camila disappear into the changing room, his heart pounding with emotions he couldn't name or control. Diego stormed out of the building, his parting words a threat that echoed in everyone's minds. "This isn't over, Camila. We'll see about this when you come home." As the studio emptied and the equipment was packed away, Gabriel remained standing where Camila had confronted him, staring at the spot where she had looked so magnificent in Luna de Plata. He realized with shocking clarity that his feelings for her had crossed every professional boundary he had ever maintained. The wedding dress had revealed more than just Camila's beauty. It had exposed the dangerous depths of Gabriel's obsession and the complex web of emotions that would soon entangle all their lives in ways none of them could have imagined. The weekend following the photo shoot passed like a slow-burning storm. For everyone involved, Camila returned to her small apartment in Queens, where Diego's anger had transformed into something far more dangerous than she had ever experienced before. He didn't shout or throw things as he usually did when upset. Instead, he became coldly controlling, watching her every move and questioning every word she spoke. "You embarrassed me in front of all those rich people," Diego said on Saturday morning, his voice deceptively calm as he sat across from her at their tiny kitchen table. "Do you understand how humiliating it was for me to see my fiancé parading around in front of other men?" Camila stared at her untouched coffee, feeling the weight of his disapproval crushing down on her spirit. "I was just doing my job, Diego. Mr. Romano needed help with an emergency. Your job is answering phones, not playing dress-up for billionaires." Diego's voice grew sharper. "I've been thinking about this all night, and I've made a decision. You're going to quit Romano Couture on Monday." The words hit Camila like ice water. "I can't quit. We need the money for my mother's medical bills, for our wedding, for everything. Diego leaned forward, his dark eyes boring into hers. I'll take care of everything. You don't need to work for that man anymore. I can see the way you look when you talk about him, Camila. I'm not blind. What are you talking about? Camila asked, though her heart began racing with guilt she couldn't fully understand. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Diego stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. That rich boss of yours has been filling your head with ideas about being special, about being beautiful enough to model. But I know you better than anyone, Camila. You're ordinary, just like me, and there's nothing wrong with that. The cruelty of his words cut deeper than any physical blow could have. Camila looked up at Diego, seeing him clearly for perhaps the first time in their 4-year relationship, when had he become so determined to make her feel small and insignificant. Meanwhile, across the city in his Manhattan penthouse, Gabriel Romano was experiencing his own form of torment. He stood on his private balcony overlooking Central Park, but his mind was entirely focused on the memory of Camila in Luna de Plata. The image played over and over in his thoughts like a movie. He couldn't turn off. Gabriel had built his fortune by maintaining strict control over his emotions and never allowing personal feelings to interfere with business decisions. But Camila had shattered that control completely, and he found himself unable to think about anything else. His phone rang, interrupting his brooding thoughts. Elena's name appeared on the screen, and Gabriel answered with reluctance. Gabriel, I have the preliminary photos from yesterday's shoot. Elena's voice was carefully neutral. Fernando outdid himself. The images are absolutely stunning. Send them to my email immediately, Gabriel commanded, already moving toward his home office. There's something else, Elena continued hesitantly. The magazine editors are so impressed with the photos that they want to offer Camila an exclusive modeling contract. They're calling her the most authentic beauty they've seen in years. Gabriel's grip tightened on the phone. The thought of Camila becoming a professional model, posing for other photographers, and appearing in magazines around the world filled him with a possessiveness that shocked him with its intensity. That won't be happening, Gabriel said firmly. Camila works for Romano Couture, and that's where she'll stay. Elena was quiet for a moment before responding. Gabriel, with respect, that's not your decision to make. If Camila wants to pursue modeling, she has every right to do so. After ending the call, Gabriel opened his laptop and downloaded the photos from the shoot. What he saw took his breath away all over again. Fernando had captured something magical. Every image showed Camila, radiating a beauty that seemed to glow from within. She looked like a fairy tale princess, ethereal and perfect, in Luna de Plata. But it was more than just her physical beauty that captivated Gabriel. There was something in her expression, a depth of emotion and authenticity that no professional model had ever achieved. Looking at these photos, Gabriel realized with startling clarity that he was falling in love with her. Monday morning arrived with intention that seemed to permeate every corner of Romano Couture. Camila sat at her reception desk, her stomach churning with anxiety about the difficult conversation she knew she had to have with Gabriel. Diego had spent the entire weekend pressuring her to quit. She had finally agreed just to end his constant criticism and controlling behavior. Gabriel arrived at the office earlier than usual. Having barely slept all weekend, he had spent hours staring at the photos of Camila, trying to understand the powerful emotion she had awakened in him. He had also made a decision that would change everything. At 10 in the morning, Gabriel called Camila to his office. She rode the elevator with trembling hands. Knowing that she was about to disappoint the man who had given her an opportunity she never could have imagined. Mr. Romano, Camila began as soon as she entered his office. I need to speak with you about something important. Gabriel gestured for her to sit down, noting the nervous energy radiating from her. Before you say anything, I have a proposition for you. He opened his laptop and turned the screen toward her, showing the stunning photos from Friday's shoot. Camila gasped when she saw herself transformed into something almost magical, hardly recognizing the confident, beautiful woman in the images. These photos are extraordinary, Gabriel said, his voice filled with an intensity that made Camila's heart race. You're extraordinary. I want to offer you a permanent position as Romano Couture's exclusive face. Camila stared at the photos, feeling a mixture of pride and disbelief. She had never imagined she could look so elegant and beautiful. The salary would be 10 times what you make as a receptionist. Gabriel continued, moving around his desk to stand closer to her. You would travel the world, wear the most beautiful clothes ever created, and become famous beyond your wildest dreams. The offer was more generous than anything Camila had ever dreamed possible. But Diego's words echoed in her mind, poisoning her excitement with doubt and fear. Mr. Romano, I appreciate the offer more than you can know, Camila said softly, but I can't accept it. I came here today to give you my resignation. Gabriel felt like he had been punched in the stomach. Your resignation. But these photos prove that you have incredible potential. My fiancé doesn't approve of me modeling, Camila explained, unable to meet Gabriel's intense gaze. He thinks it's inappropriate and that I should focus on being a good wife. Gabriel's jaw clenched with fury. Your fiancé is an insecure fool who's trying to keep you small because he's afraid of your potential. Please don't talk about Diego that way, Camila protested, though her voice lacked conviction. He loves me and wants to protect me. Protect you from what? Gabriel demanded, moving even closer to her. From success? From beauty? From discovering how extraordinary you really are? Camila looked up at Gabriel, seeing the passion burning in his green eyes. For a moment, she felt the same powerful attraction that had confused her during the photo shoot. But she quickly pushed those feelings aside. I've made my decision, she said firmly, standing up and placing her resignation letter on his desk. Thank you for the opportunity, but I won't be changing my mind. Gabriel watched her walk toward the door, feeling desperation claw at his chest. Camila, wait. She stopped, but didn't turn around. If you leave now, Gabriel said, his voice rough with emotion, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been. Is that really the future you want? Camila's shoulders sagged slightly, but she didn't respond. She walked out of his office, leaving Gabriel alone with her resignation and the photos that showed what she could become. The final confrontation that evening. Gabriel made a decision that crossed every professional boundary he had ever maintained. He drove to Queens using the address from Camila's employee file to find her apartment building. He had never done anything so impulsive or inappropriate in his entire life. But the thought of losing her forever made rational thinking impossible. When Gabriel knocked on the apartment door, Diego answered with a suspicious expression that quickly turned to anger when he recognized the visitor. What are you doing here? Diego demanded, blocking the doorway with his body. I need to speak with Camila, Gabriel replied, his voice steady despite the emotions churning inside him.
Right. She doesn't want to talk to you, Diego said firmly. She quit your company today, so there's nothing left to discuss. Gabriel could hear
Voices from inside the apartment, and he pushed past Diego before the other man could stop him. What he saw inside made his blood run cold with fury. Camila sat on a worn couch, her face streaked with tears, while an older woman who could only be her mother lay in a hospital bed that had been set up in the living room. The apartment was tiny and cramped, with medical equipment taking up most of the available space. Camila, Gabriel said softly, ignoring Diego's angry protests behind him. She looked up at him with red-rimmed eyes, clearly exhausted from crying. Mr. Romano, you shouldn't be here. I came to ask you one more time to reconsider my offer, Gabriel said, glancing meaningfully at the medical equipment surrounding her mother. I know you need this job. Diego moved to stand protectively next to Camila. She doesn't need anything from you. Told you, we can manage on our own. Gabriel turned his full attention to Diego, his expression cold and calculating. Can you really afford the medical care her mother needs? Can you pay for the wedding Camila deserves? Can you give her the life she dreams about? Money isn't everything, Diego shot back. But Gabriel could see the uncertainty in his eyes. You're right, Gabriel agreed, his voice becoming dangerously soft. Money isn't everything, but love isn't about keeping someone small and afraid. Love is about helping them become the best version of themselves. He turned back to Camila, who was watching the exchange with growing confusion and emotional turmoil. I'm offering you the chance to take care of your mother, to have financial security, and to discover talents you never knew you possessed, Gabriel continued. What is he offering you? Diego's face flushed with anger. I'm offering her love, loyalty, and a stable life. Things that your money can't buy. Stable? Gabriel laughed bitterly. Is it stable to make her feel ashamed of her beauty? Is it loyal to crush her dreams before she even has a chance to pursue them? The argument escalated quickly, with both men speaking over each other in their determination to convince Camila. but it was her quiet voice that finally cut through their shouting. "Stop," Camila said firmly, standing up from the couch. "Both of you, just stop." She looked at Diego first, her expression filled with sadness and a new kind of clarity. "Diego, you've spent 4 years telling me I'm not good enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough for anything better than what I have. But when I put on that dress and stood in front of those cameras, I felt beautiful and confident for the first time in my adult life." Diego's face crumpled. "Ah, Camila, I never meant to make you feel that way. I just wanted to protect you from getting hurt by making sure I never tried anything new or challenging," she replied softly. "That's not protection, Diego. That's fear." Then she turned to Gabriel, her brown eyes shining with unshed tears. "Mr. Romano, you make me feel like I could conquer the world. But I also see the way you look at me, and it's not just professional admiration." Gabriel felt his carefully constructed composure cracking. "Camila, I know," she interrupted gently. "I feel it too. But that doesn't mean it's right or that we should act on it." The admission hung in the air between them, electric and dangerous. Diego stared at them both with dawning horror, finally understanding the true nature of the connection between his fiancée and her boss. The choice that changes everything. In the days that followed the confrontation, Camila found herself caught between two completely different futures. Diego had become more controlling than ever, insisting that they move up their wedding date and that she'll find a new job immediately. Meanwhile, Gabriel had left the modeling offer open, making it clear that he would wait for her decision, no matter how long it took. The turning point came when Camila's mother, Rosa Santos, asked to speak with her daughter privately. Despite her illness, Rosa had been watching the situation unfold with the wisdom that comes from years of life experience. "Mia," Rosa said weakly from her hospital bed, "come sit with me." Camila sat beside her mother, taking her frail hand gently. "How are you feeling today, Mama?" "I'm feeling worried about you," Rosa replied honestly. "I've been watching you these past few weeks, and I see something in your eyes that I haven't seen since you were a little girl." "What do you mean?" Camila asked. "Hope," Rosa said simply. "When you told me about wearing that beautiful dress and having your photo taken, your whole face lit up. You looked like you used to when you would dream about becoming a teacher or traveling the world." Camila felt tears pricking at her eyes. "But Diego says those dreams are unrealistic. He says I should be grateful for what I have." Rosa squeezed her daughter's hand with surprising strength. "Diego is a good man in many ways, but he's also afraid. He's afraid that if you discover how special you really are, you won't need him anymore." "And what about Mr. Romano?" Camila asked quietly. Rosa was silent for a long moment before answering. "That man sees something in you that you're only beginning to see in yourself. But more importantly, when you talk about him, you sound like a woman who's falling in love." The truth of her mother's words hit Camila like a revelation. She had been trying to deny her feelings for Gabriel, telling herself that her attraction to him was simply gratitude for the opportunity he had given her. But she couldn't lie to herself anymore. "What should I do, Mama?" Camila whispered. "Follow your heart, Mia," Rosa replied with a sad smile. "Life is too short to spend it being afraid of your own potential." That night, Camila made her decision. She called Diego and asked him to meet her at a coffee shop near their apartment. When he arrived, she was already sitting at a corner table, her engagement ring placed carefully on the surface between them. "Camila, what is this?" Diego asked, staring at the ring with growing dread. "I can't marry you, Diego," Camila said quietly but firmly. "I thought I could ignore my feelings and settle for a safe, predictable life, but I can't. I deserve more than that, and so do you." Diego's face went through a range of emotions: shock, hurt, anger, and finally, a desperate kind of pleading. "You're making a huge mistake, Camila. That rich man will use you and throw you away when he gets bored. I'm the one who really loves you." "You love the idea of me," Camila corrected gently. "You love having someone who won't challenge you or make you feel insecure. But real love should make both people want to become better versions of themselves." Diego stared at her for a long moment before picking up the engagement ring. "You'll regret this," he said bitterly. "Oh. When your fairy tale falls apart, don't come crying to me." After Diego left, Camila sat alone in the coffee shop, feeling a mixture of sadness and relief. She had just ended a 4-year relationship and thrown away the security of a planned future. But for the first time in years, she felt truly free. The new beginning, The next morning, Camila walked into Romano Couture with her head held high and a determination in her step that everyone noticed immediately. She went straight to Gabriel's office, where she found him staring out his window at the Manhattan skyline. "Mr. Romano," she said from the doorway. Gabriel turned around, and when he saw her expression, his heart began racing with hope. "Camila, I've reconsidered your offer," she said, walking into the office and closing the door behind her. "Still available? I would like to accept the position as Romano Couture's exclusive model." Gabriel's smile was brilliant and genuine. "Still available. It will always be available for you." "There's just one condition," Camila continued, moving closer to his desk. "I want everything to be completely professional between us. Personal complications? No crossing of boundaries. Just business." Gabriel nodded, though they both knew how difficult that condition would be to maintain. Of course, completely professional. But as Camila smiled and extended her hand to shake on their agreement, Gabriel felt his carefully constructed world shifting once again. When their hands touched, the same electric current that had passed between them during the thunderstorm ran through both of them. "Thank you for believing in me," Camila said softly, not immediately pulling her hand away. "Thank you for believing in yourself," Gabriel replied, his voice rough with barely contained emotion. 6 months later, the wedding. That never was the Romano Couture spring campaign featuring Camila had become the most successful in the company's history. Her face graced billboards across the world, and fashion magazines couldn't get enough of the authentic beauty who had captured everyone's attention. Camila had grown into her role with grace, confidence, traveling to exotic locations for photo shoots and walking runways in Milan and Paris. But despite her professional success, she had maintained strict boundaries with Gabriel, never allowing their relationship to become anything more than professional. Gabriel, for his part, had thrown himself into expanding the business, opening new stores and launching additional product lines. But no amount of professional success could fill the void that Camila's careful distance had created in his heart. The tension between them had been building for months, and finally reached a breaking point during a photo shoot in the company's flagship store. Camila was wearing a new evening gown, a creation of midnight blue silk that made her look like a goddess stepped down from Mount Olympus. Gabriel watched from behind the cameras as she posed for the photographer. Her every movement, filled with the confidence she had developed over the months. When the shoot ended and the crew began packing up their equipment, Gabriel approached her. "You are magnificent today," he said, his voice filled with pride and something deeper. "Thank you," Camila replied, but she didn't meet his eyes. "I should go change out of this dress." "Camila, wait," Gabriel said, catching her hand gently. "We need to talk." She finally looked at him, and the longing in his green eyes was unmistakable. "Gabriel, we agreed." "I know what we agreed," he interrupted, using her first name for the first time in months, "but I can't pretend anymore. I can't watch you every day and act like my heart doesn't stop every time you smile." Camila felt her carefully constructed defenses crumbling. "Gabriel, this is exactly what we said wouldn't happen. Some things are bigger than our plans," he said, stepping closer to her. "Some things are worth the risk." Before Camila could respond, Gabriel cupped her face gently in his hands and kissed her. It was a kiss filled with months of suppressed longing, professional restraint finally giving way to the powerful emotions they had both been fighting. When they broke apart, both were breathing heavily, their foreheads touching as they struggled to process what had just happened. "Love you," Gabriel whispered, the words falling between them like a confession and a prayer. Camila looked into his eyes, seeing her own feelings reflected back at her. "I love you too," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "I've loved you since that night during the thunderstorm when you showed me who you really are beneath all the power and control." The perfect ending. 1 year later, Romano Couture's flagship store was transformed into a wedding venue, more beautiful than any cathedral. White roses and crystal chandeliers created an atmosphere of pure magic. While the most important people in Gabriel and Camila's lives gathered to witness their union, Camila stood before an ornate mirror in the store's VIP dressing room, wearing Luna de Plata, the same wedding dress that had brought them together. This time, she was wearing it as a bride, not as a model, and the difference was everything. Rosa Santos. Healthier thanks to the excellent medical care Gabriel had provided, helped her daughter with the final touches of her bridal look. "You look like an angel, Mia," Rosa said with tears of joy in her eyes. "Your father would be so proud to see you today." "I wish he could be here," Camila replied, touching the small locket around her neck that contained his photograph. He is here, Rosa assured her. He's here in your strength, in your courage to follow your heart, and in the love that brought you to this moment. Meanwhile, in another part of the store, Gabriel stood with his best man, adjusting his tie nervously, despite having worn thousands of expensive suits throughout his life. Having second thoughts, Alina teased, having become not just Gabriel's business partner, but also one of his closest friends over the years. Only about whether I deserve her, Gabriel admitted honestly. She transformed my entire world, Alina. Before Camila, I thought success was about control and power. Now I know it's about finding someone who makes you want to be the best version of yourself. When the ceremony began, Gabriel stood at the altar watching Camila walk down the aisle toward him. She was radiant in Luna de Plata, the dress that had started their love story. Gabriel felt his heart overflow with emotions he had never experienced before. As Camila reached the altar, Gabriel took her hands in his, both of them remembering that first day when she had been so afraid to wear this very dress. Now she wore it with confidence and joy, surrounded by love instead of fear. "You look beautiful," Gabriel whispered, his voice thick with emotion.
Also, so do you.
Camila replied, with a radiant smile that made everyone in attendance catch their breath. Ceremony was intimate and heartfelt, with vows they had written themselves. Gabriel spoke about how Camila had taught him that true strength came from vulnerability, that real power meant lifting others up instead of controlling them. Camila talked about how Gabriel had shown her that she was worthy of extraordinary love and extraordinary dreams. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Gabriel kissed Camila with all the passion and tenderness that had been building between them for over a year. The guests erupted in applause, but the couple was lost in their own perfect moment. The epilogue. 5 years later, the Romano family had grown in ways that brought joy to everyone who knew them. Gabriel and Camila now had 2 beautiful children, 3-year-old Sophia, who had inherited her mother's warm brown eyes and her father's stubborn determination, and baby Marcus, who was only 6 months old, but already showed signs of having both parents' strong personalities. Romano Couture had expanded internationally, with Camila serving as both the face of the brand and the creative director of their new children's line. She had proven that beauty and business intelligence could coexist perfectly, and her success had inspired countless young women around the world. Gabriel had also changed, becoming known not just as a brilliant businessman, but as a devoted husband and father who believed in empowering others rather than controlling them. Together, they had established the Santos Romano Foundation, which provided scholarships for young women from underprivileged backgrounds to pursue careers in fashion and business. On a quiet Sunday morning, Gabriel found Camila in their home office, working on designs for the foundation's next project. She was wearing one of his shirts over her pajamas, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, and she had never looked more beautiful to him. "What are you working on?" Gabriel asked, rapping, his arms around her from behind and kissing the top of her head. "I'm designing dresses for the scholarship recipients to wear at next month's gala," Camila replied, leaning back against his chest. "I want each girl to feel as beautiful and confident as I felt that first day in Luna de Plata." Gabriel smiled, thinking about how far they had both come from that desperate morning when he had forced her to model his wedding dress. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked. "Leaving your safe, predictable life for all this chaos and uncertainty?" Camila turned in his arms, her eyes shining with love and contentment. "Never," she said firmly. "That wedding dress didn't just change my life, Gabriel. It showed me who I was meant to become." "And who was that?" Gabriel asked, though he already knew the answer. "Your wife, the mother of your children, and a woman who believes in her own worth," Camila replied, standing on her tiptoes to kiss him softly as they kissed in the morning sunlight streaming through their home office windows. Both Gabriel and Camila knew that their love story had been worth every moment of uncertainty, every risk they had taken, every boundary they had crossed. The wedding dress that had started as a business crisis had become the foundation of the most beautiful love story either of them could have imagined. And in the years to come, as they watched their children grow and their business flourish, they would always remember that sometimes the most extraordinary love stories begin with the most ordinary moments, like a desperate billionaire, humble receptionist, and a wedding dress that revealed the truth both of them had been too afraid to see. The end.